Alright, for today's lesson on transformations, we are going to be looking at rotation. So if you think about rotating, right, it's moving around, it's rotating around. So it's a transformation in which a figure is rotated or turned about a fixed point. You can rotate about any different types of points. We are just going to be looking at those that rotate about the origin. So these three models right here are based off of rotating clockwise about the origin. So we're going to have scenarios that are clockwise and counterclockwise. We're going to have to always think back to these examples as clockwise and adjust accordingly. So first one we're going to look at is a 90-degree rotation. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to highlight our originals in one color. So I'm highlighting our originals in pink. They're all the same original image. And then highlight the rotated ones in yellow. Okay, so for this 90-degree rotation, we're going to look at these symbols right here, which is saying if this is our original ordered pair, this is what happens to it. And it looks kind of funky. We've got the Y's and the X's mixed up. Well, there's a reason for that. So let's just look at one of the original points. So let's look at point B. In the original image, it's at -3, 1. Rotating at 90 degrees, well, a circle's 360 degrees. There's 4 quadrants, so each quadrant represents 90 degrees. So this would be 90, 180, 270, 360. 90, 180, 270, 360. So if we are rotating at 90 degrees clockwise, we're just kind of turning it this way, okay? So the new point B is at 1, 3. So let's see how we get from here to here. Our x value was -3. Now that 3 has moved to where the y value would go, and it's the opposite. So our new y value is the opposite of the original x value. And then our y was 1. Now that has moved to where the x value would normally be. So our x ordered pair is going to be the original y. Let's look at it again for this next one. 180-degree rotation. So these are the symbols we would be looking at. Our original b value is the same, -3, 1. The new b value here is 3, -1. This one's a little bit easier to transfer because we're just kind of going diagonal here. Our x, that was -3, became 3, so it became the opposite. Our y was -1, it became -1, so it became the opposite. And then the last one, 270-degree rotation. Our original b value was, again, -3, 1. Our new b value is -1, -3. So let's look at what happened here. Our x was -3, now that's moved to where the y value goes into our new point. Our y was 1, it became -1 and moved over to where x is. So for every single scenario, we're going to come back to this image, so make sure you're referring back to it as we go through. So let's look at this first example. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to plot these points from the triangle. So we have r is at -7, 8. S is at -7, 2. T is at -2, 2. And then I'm going to connect these points. All right, so what we have to be looking at is what it's asking us to do. It says, graph triangle RST and its image after a 180-degree clockwise rotation about the origin. So if we look back, 180-degree rotation, our original ordered pair is going to become and our new one is then going to become opposite of x and opposite of y. So I'm just going to write that right here. It's going to become the opposite of x and the opposite of y. So I'm going to write our new points here. R prime, what the ordered pair would be, S prime, what the ordered pair would be, T prime, what the ordered pair would be. So our X was -7, it should become the opposite, which is 7. The Y was 8, it should become the opposite, which is -8. For S, the X was -7, it should become the opposite, which is +7. The Y was 2, it should become the opposite, which is -2. And for T, X was -2, it should become the opposite, which is +2. Y was 2, it should become the opposite, which is -2. And then I'm going to plot these points. First, let's think about logically. If it's a 180-degree rotation, clockwise goes this way. 90 would be here, 180 would be here. So it should be in this quadrant. So our R is at 7, -8. That works. That's in the right quadrant. S is 7, -2. And T is 2, -2. If we look at it, it's in the correct quadrant. When we connect the points to each other, it looks like it was rotated, turned, and turned again. Let's try another one. So the quadrilateral and the vertices are given. I'm going to plot those points first. So E is at 1, -1. Not prime, just E. F is at 3, -5. G is at 7, -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And H is at 6, -1. I'm going to connect those. Okay, so here's where we have to be careful with what it's asking of us. It says we are rotating it counterclockwise, 90 degrees. The chart that we have only gives us the clockwise rotations. Counterclockwise works in the reverse way. So what we have to think about is, if this image was going clockwise 90 degrees, our clock goes this way, right? It would be right here. It's going counterclockwise, which means it should end up here. But we need to think about it in opposites. We have to bring everything back to these clockwise rotations. So counterclockwise 90 degrees is the same thing as clockwise 270 degrees. Because again, we said counterclockwise 90 should bring us right here. If we went clockwise 270, 90, 180, 270, it brings us there. So when we're looking at our chart, we are going to be using this clockwise 270 rotation, which means our new value should be opposite of y, comma, x. So let's write out our points. E prime, F prime, G prime, H prime. So for E, the new x value should be the opposite of the original y. So the original y is -1, so the opposite of that is 1. And then our new y value should be the original x, which is 1. So that goes to 1, 1 is E prime. For F, the new x value should be the opposite of the original y. So the opposite of -5 is 5. The new y value should be our original x, which is 3. So plot that point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. That is F prime. They're all in the correct quadrant right now, so that's good. For G, our new x should be the opposite of y, so the opposite of -5 is 5. Our new y should be the original x, which is 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 5, 6, 7. And then H. The new x should be the opposite of y, so the opposite of -1 is 1. The new y should be the original x, which is 6. So 1 and then 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we can connect these points. And if you think about it, it does look like an image flipped 90 degrees. Let's do one more. So let's plot those points from the triangle. 3, -1 for x, 5, -4, 1, 2, 3, 4 for y, and 1, -5 for z, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And connect these points for the triangle. And then again, we need to be careful. It is saying to do a counterclockwise rotation of 270 degrees. So again, the opposite way. So counterclockwise of 270 would be, nope, that's clockwise, sorry, it would be this way, would be 90, 180, 270. So it should be right here. We always need to bring things back to clockwise because that's what our chart tells us. So counterclockwise of 270, which would be 90, 180, 270, is the same thing as going clockwise 90. And if we look at our chart, clockwise 90 means our new ordered pair is going to be y, -x. So let's go ahead and write out our new ordered pairs. So we have x prime, we have y prime, and we have z prime. So for x, our new y value, or sorry, our new x value is the original y. So the original y is -1, and our new y value is the opposite of the original x. So the opposite of 3 is -3. So -1, -3. We're in the right quadrant, so that's good. For the y, our original x value is our new x value is the original y, which is -4, and our new y value is the opposite of the original x, so the opposite of 5, which is -5. And then for z, we need the original y, which is -5. That's going to go in our x coordinate. And our y coordinate is going to be the opposite of the original x, so the opposite of 1 is -1. So -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -1 for z. Which makes sense if you think about it. It's kind of rotating up this way. So connect our points. And that's it. So again, make sure you are referring back to this. We are only looking at ones that rotate about the origin, and it's always in clockwise for these symbols, so you have to bring the counterclockwise into clockwise in order to be able to use these symbols.